It is the duty of the free man to resist tyranny at every turn. Every man will either watch his freedom stripped away or take action to protect what he loves. Introducing the A3, the newest revolutionary body armor from Armored Republic. The A3 is the new standard for lightweight multi-hit body armor. A3 plates are incredibly light at 4.6 pounds. The patented design captures fragmentation while remaining multi-hit capable. The A3 will stop up to M80 ball, yet comes in at only 0.7 inches thick. The A3 is the thinnest NIJ.06 compliant or certified composite standalone plate that includes the drop test. The A3 is the first of its kind, patent pending, that combines an alloy strike face with polyethylene backing, revolutionizing body armor technology by providing strength and durability while remaining sleek and maneuverable. The A3 is the new standard in lightweight body armor. The fight against tyranny just got stronger.
Hey y'all, welcome to Cross Politics. It's a little cold in the studio today.
This is the Natural Born Killers edition.
But I got my Protestant orange worldview glasses on.
No one thinks that. No one thinks that.
Yep. Knox, not even gonna help me there, huh?
I'm not feeding the bears.
No.
I don't feed the bears.
Pastor Toby Chuck Knox, I'm the water boy, and it's good to get a Texan back in on the show today.
You would say that.
Another Texan.
You would say that.
Do you ever notice we
Texas.
talk about Texas a lot on this show?
Yeah,
like
I know.
Texas is just like,
I think if you did like
topic.
a analysis of all the words used, I'm pretty sure it'd be like
It'd be pretty high ranked.
Pretty high.
You live in Idaho?
That and baptize your baby.
Summer's been great here at Cross Politics. Remember summer, guys? Back when it was warm, it's like raining and like 50 degrees outside.
I still
right
got
now.
my top off in my K5. My kids are getting wet on the way to school.
I don't see a problem.
We're getting baptized on the way to school.
There we go. No, that's not baptism. But okay, summer's been great here at Cross Politics, and we want you to join us on the ride. We're not calling it the Fight Laugh Feast Club anymore. It's called the Fight Laugh Feast Pub, or just the Pub, or Pub TV. Second, we're launching a new line of content focused on family entertainment. We have our new show, This America, not Miss America with Gabe, but This America.
You'd be Mr. America.
And our exciting new Rowdy Christian Guides series, highlighting the practical guides to fun and godly life.
Those are like 10-minute kind of bits.
Yeah, have we dropped any of those yet? They're coming?
Yeah, hopefully this week.
Okay. Additionally, we will have live streaming of our conferences, our past conference talks, all bundled within the brand new polished Fight Laugh Feast app.
It is beautiful.
That's where the pub is centered. It's the name of our app and where you can get that experience. If you don't have it, download it today. You just search Fight Laugh Feast in your app store
or Pub TV.
Pub TV, either one. Yeah. And if you already have the app and it's not refreshed, you know, the brand new experience, you might need to go update it or delete it and re-download it. But grab it today. Head on over to fightlaughfeast.com. Follow the links. Join the pub. fightlaughfeast.com. As mentioned, we're very grateful to have with us back Michael Quinn Sullivan. He's the publisher of Texas Scorecard and the writer of a brand new documentary, The Texas Heist. Here's an introduction to that.
There was a coup. Some of the moderate Republicans that Craddock had in power revolted.
I think a lot of us were pretty shocked that you had kind of this very brazen display of a dozen Republicans pretty outright conspiring with the Democrats.
Shocking to me as well. No one expected the House, I think, prior to that session had been 86-64, so it wasn't close. And then, of course, Obama came into office, and with that, we nearly lost the House. It was 76-74. We, breathing a sigh of relief. We kept it. We were going to continue with Tom Craddock. We did 3 straight terms. With the last session, I thought being pretty darn good. And then they came up I think it was 11 Republicans. It may have been 12. Either way, it was a deal cut with the Democrats to get to 76. So unfortunately, you had these 11 or 12 Republicans who decided, you know what? We want the power. We'll give the Democrats what they want. We'll cut a deal with them.
That deal, of course, resulted in what Sid Miller called a coup, ousting Tom Craddock and bringing in Joe Strauss as the speaker.
Whoa.
Wow. Like that music, too. It's like really, really dramatic. Michael, thanks for coming back on Cross Politic.
Hey, thanks for having me. Great to be with you guys.
So I want to know, so actually that clip sets up basically pretty clearly what you're talking about with what the heist is. These 11 or 12 Republicans who basically defected to the Democrat side in order to oust the previous speaker and get somebody new in. I'm curious. First of all, I mean, did I summarize that correctly? Correct anything that I got wrong? And then secondly, what's the defense of the Republicans who did this defection? What would they say in their defense?
Yeah, so you got it right. And what happened is it set a standard of operations in the Texas House of Representatives that has now led for more than a decade of a small group of Republicans, and the number changes, but working with the Democrats so that functionally speaking, Democrats control the Texas House of Representatives. That's what we call the Texas Heist. They found a way to steal the Texas House despite not being in the majority. What the Republicans who are involved in this will tell you is, oh, well, this is just the way we do things in Texas. They will say that, bipartisanship is the most important value that we can have, not achieving your ideological objectives or your political objectives. No, we have to be bipartisan. And of course, what bipartisan means is doing what the Democrats want. The Republicans, many of them will tell you that it's all about them being able to deliver for their districts and for their constituencies they play this game with the Democrats, all the Democrats and a small number of Republicans, kind of manipulating the system in the Texas legislature. So now those Republicans get to have an outsized sense of power that they can use to deliver for their donors, their favored lobbyists, for industries in their district, whatever it might be. And when you're talking about Texas, you're talking about what, the 10th largest economy on the planet. You're talking about build a state budget that rivals that of most foreign countries, into the billions of dollars. A lot of money at play that they get to spend around. All then kind of under the national conversation where non-Texans look at the Lone Star State and say, oh, well, they're all Republican. Things must be great there. And so they're able to kind of get away with it because, we're not as bad as California. We're not as bad as New York, which is a lot like being the least drunk person at the bar. If that's your standard, then good for you. But Texas could be doing better.
I've only had 4 beers. And so, Michael, it seems like to me with Texas, it's been conservative or been kind of a stalwart, at least from the outside looking in. I grew up there, but even since I left, I still look at Texas as a pretty conservative state. Like the heist isn't the problem. What was going on before the heist? That's the problem. How did we get here? And then even Paxton, I watched a lot of the doc and he was just saying, yeah, man, things were pretty good under the previous speaker. He was on his 3rd term. Things were pretty good. I don't think things were that well even under the previous speaker. How did we get here?
Yeah, so I would suggest that Texans have fallen prey to that very, very common problem of folks who believe their own PR, where we have for a long time believed ourselves to be this red meat conservative state, when in fact again it is the problem of comparison. When we compare ourselves to California, we do look pretty good in comparison. Yeah. But the question though is that really the right standard? Is that the right standard for me as an individual? Is that the right standard for us as a state? Or should the standard be, are we doing the best we can be doing? And when you look at that, that's where you see that Texas has not been performing. It took us, Texas
could have been a leader in banning the genital mutilation of children in the name of the radical homosexual and leftist agenda. Instead, we're a distant also ran in finally addressing that problem because the Democrats in the Texas House didn't want to address, so therefore the Republicans didn't want it addressed. There are all these areas where we could have been a leader, but instead we have been relegated to follower status.
Okay, so I kind of want to pick up on
that's what I think.
Disgusting.
That's Texas.
Yeah, that's disgusting. Colorado. We had that legislator on from Colorado.
Yeah,
a Christian pastor guy.
Yeah,
and he said basically Colorado flipped during Obama's administration, and before Obama's administration, 2008 is where Colorado flipped. The last 52 years, Colorado had only voted twice for a Democratic president from 2008. In the last 52 years. And then Colorado votes for Obama. And then now it hasn't voted for a Republican president since. And it's been way worse. Like Colorado's gotten more liberal.
Right.
Oh, that's why. Was there a question?
I was getting there, but yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. It seems like that's happening in Texas. It seems like the Colorado-fication of Texas is coming.
Yeah, I wish I could say that you were wrong. Unfortunately, you're not. I feel like that we're kind of lulling ourselves into this kind of false sense of security. And now, look, in some ways, for the Democrats, they get to have their cake and eat it too. They get, in many cases, the policy outcomes they want without the burden of being in charge. So they're able to stop things. But then when things don't go the well, they say, "Well, look, it's the Republicans in charge." But they're a Democrat. But for a lot of voters, though, you see a lot of folks starting to say, "Well, gosh, if I'm going to vote for Republicans, but they act like Democrats, maybe it's just more efficient to vote for Democrats anyway." And I think you saw that in Colorado, and you see that in other places. When Republicans stop being a viable political party that stands for something, at that point, it's really hard to make the case to the average human being, the normal person who has a job, has a family, goes to church, likes to go dancing with their wife once a month, and all the different little things that people do in their lives, and then they try to remember to vote. If they're not seeing a substantive difference between what they have and what they don't have, might as well try the other thing for a while. And Republicans are in real danger of that. And when that happens, make no mistake, I love you guys. Your part of the world is gorgeous. You talked about 50 degrees. We won't see 50 degrees until like January. But yet, if the nation loses Texas, if Republicans nationally lose Texas, you will never again have a Republican president. You cannot do the electoral math in the current state of the United States and have a Republican president without Texas voting Republican.
Well, it seems like we can have a Republican Texas and still not have a Republican president.
That's right. That's right.
It seems like it's like we're going there anyway.
But that's right. That's a good point.
You say we have a chance.
Well, maybe not.
Maybe not.
Now, if we got all these rhinos out there, we don't really have a chance, right? Yeah. But I think I agree with your point, though, Michael. Here's another thing I wanted to ask. What was it about the moment with Obama that created so many rhinos or created this switch, this flip? This is why I want to piggyback on what Gabe was saying, this
Colorado,
flip in Texas. What was it about that moment in that era? And part of me just thinking about this right off the top of my head was that we had two Obamas with Romney and Obama. And it seems like your point about, well, let's try something different. And we had race intermixed with this too. And if the policies were the same with Mitt Romney and Obama, why not just pick Obama, right? But it seems like there was I don't know, what was it that flipped in Texas to get so many rhinos in that moment with Obama?
Yeah, I think you had a couple of things at play. One, you have to remember Texas was a Democrat-held state. It was completely Democrat up until the mid-'90s. California moving from a Republican to a Democrat state happened at about the same time Texas went from being a Democrat state to a Republican state.
Okay.
And then so you had a lot of opportunists folks who, in political office. You got to remember with state office, many of these cats can kind of glide under the radar screen. How they vote in Austin is generally not reported. What gets reported to voters back home in any state house in the nation, quite frankly, is what the incumbent tells them. Yeah. So many of these cats could kind of write their own history in real time. They had been elected as Democrats. They switched parties when it was convenient in the late 90s. And now they said they were still voting conservatives, but in fact they weren't. But no one was there to challenge them. So in some cases, it wasn't so much that the politicians changed. It's just that people started, particularly in 2010, after Obama was elected and people started realizing maybe what had happened, some of these folks started being revealed for who they were. It wasn't that they changed or they revealed. You also then had kind of the same problem you had elsewhere, of folks feeling like voting for Obama was some sort of, virtue signaling about how far we've come as a country or something. And then they had some buyer's remorse shortly after that.
Michael, do you think that the people of Texas really are conservative?
I was going to ask that.
Or are they? I mean, is it a matter of just getting conservatives out to vote, or is it a matter? Or is it the hearts of Texas? I mean, the people of Texas really, deep in the heart of Texas, there really are liberals, and they really aren't as conservative as we all think.
I will tell you, between my own travels around the state, I hit every county at least every other year, 254 counties. I'm in, on the road almost every day of the week. We do a lot of polling, a lot of focus groups. I can tell you absolutely, Texans are as conservative as you think that they are. When you talk to them about life issues, and they talk about protecting kids, talk about budgets, spending, taxes, go down the line. Even Democrats in human being Democrats, not people with the honorable part of the name, human beings who have jobs and, love their kids and try not to cheat on their spouse and all the different things, right? Yeah. Normal people, right? Even those Democrats are good on life issues, on supporting the Second Amendment, border security, go down the line. The disconnect for Texans is the availability of information about their state legislature. Most folks are very conversant on what happens federally. Everyone can tell you, what stupid thing Joe Biden did an hour ago, right? But yet, meanwhile, most people, and this is not limited to Texas, but certainly my experience is Texas, most people can't tell you who their sheriff is. They can't tell you who the school board president is. They can't tell you, who their mayor is even. And those positions tend to have a lot more impact on people's lives than Joe Biden ever will.
Right.
But we've been kind of lulled into the sense of ignoring that which is local and important and things that we can influence, and instead all build up a head of outrage about things that are more distant and less influenceable by us. And at some point, we as Christians need to kind of also own our responsibility in that. I hear a lot of folks at my own church and at churches I visit around the state, who say, "Oh, well, gosh, Michael, that's interesting that you do this state stuff, but as a Christian, I need to be focused on these big national things." They'll talk about abortion, or they'll talk about, whatever they've seen on Fox News or something. Right. And I think that's where we as Christians sit back and say, gosh, maybe we need to be encouraging our congregations to vote in city council races and school board races rather than just once every 4 years talking about who's running for president. Because quite honestly, I'm more concerned with what the math teacher in some small school district is doing in his classroom than I am what some 90-year-old U.S. senator from California is doing. That has a lot more impact on my family and on my community than that U.S. senator ever will.
I'm still kind of stuck on the problem. All these legislators get voted in apparently by good conservative Christian people in Texas, and then the legislators go to Austin and then they don't report back home what they're doing. So something's really broken there. And then you got like good guys like Attorney General Paxton, Ken Paxton. He just got impeached in May, and I'm trying to sort through, like, is he corrupt? Is he not? Is he getting caught up in the kind of the mill of Austin because he was a true conservative? And then there's charges with Ken Paxton about possibly cheating on his wife. How do we even process supposedly the good guys in Texas?
Yeah, so this Paxton impeachment is between the Paxton impeachment and now, honestly, kind of the general results of the legislative session that just concluded have really been very eye-opening to a lot of Texans. Folks again who haven't been paying a lot of attention, may not have the ability to pay attention, or at least aren't aware they have the ability to pay attention. The Texas scorecard, this we try to do is help folks be able to pay attention to what's happening in the Texas legislature, happening in the state capitol. With the Paxton impeachment, though, you have a couple things at play. He is as corrupt as any of the four of us are. He's a sinful man who makes all sorts of mistakes before even taking his foot out of his bed, right? But yet at the same time, and that's where we do have to make sure that when we think of our elected officials, that we are being careful to separate the man from the performance of the job. At some point today, I will do what I always do. I will drive through the Chick-fil-A that is between my office and my home, and I will order large waffle fries and a large sweet tea, because that's what I will do. And when the nice homeschool kid takes my money, I don't really care what that kid watched on TV last night. I just want my waffle fries and my sweet tea. That's really all I want from Chick-fil-A is my waffle fries and my large sweet tea. And the fact that he might have other issues in his life that need to be addressed, I hope those are getting addressed. But at that moment, I'm hiring him to serve me waffle fries and a large sweet tea. The same should be true with our politicians. Whatever personal flaws these people have, we also remember we need them to deliver a job for us. It's a professional question we should have. And with Ken Paxton, you have a guy who has racked up win after win against the Biden administration. He has racked up massive wins against big tech and big pharma, wins that everyone said no attorney general would be able to get. So Paxton professionally has delivered for Texas and for Texas conservatives. Now, personally, there are the reports he's cheated on his wife and these kind of things, which are troubling and bad. And I hope that he and his wife, they appear to have reconciled from all of that, which is what we should hope for and pray for as Christians. But ultimately, with the 30 million people in Texas, our job as the citizens is to hire our public servants, to hire elected officials to perform jobs. We don't hire best friends. We're not hiring them to be, here's the tired old line from the 2000s and the 90s. We're not hiring them to be the pastor of our church. We're hiring them to be a state rep or an attorney general. And we have to be the grown-ups of the room, the citizens. We have to be the ones who will say, I'm going to differentiate whether or not I like you as my mayor and do I like the job you're doing as mayor? Those have to be two different things if we're going to be successful as a republic.
The mission of Armored Republic is to honor Christ by equipping free men with tools of liberty necessary to preserve God-given rights. In the Armored Republic, there's no king but Christ. We are free craftsmen. Amen. Body armor is a tool of liberty. We create tools of liberty. Free men must remain ever vigilant against tyranny wherever it appears, and God has given us the tools of liberty needed to defend the rights he bestowed upon us. Armored Republic is honored to offer you those tools with body armor. So visit them at AR, that's the letters AR, the number 500, 500, armor.com. That's AR500, armor.com.
Michael, that answer doesn't really sit well with me. And I think I understand what you're trying to say there, but I think that's part of the problem with Republicans is we've given our own people, our own leaders, a pass on the morality of who they are and what they've done because they've done a great job passing tax reform. And I think we've separated the man from the job to our detriment. And it's why,
although I would say in Texas we have a different problem that we have very often we vote for someone because they go to our church or because they their kid and our kid is on the same soccer league or something, and we're not paying attention to the fact that they are voting contrary to our values and beliefs. And obviously, Gabe, now I think your entire argument that you ultimately cannot divorce the man from the job performance, and all those things be taken into. But I think we have to make sure that we're weighing those things appropriately, and we don't elect, which is what we've been doing in Texas. We've been electing people who tickle our ears, who say the things that we want to hear, but yet. When it comes to delivering on their promises, they're not there. They're not actually delivering on their promises. What they're delivering on are goodies for their pals and lying to the constituents who then don't have the ability, or at least they don't think they have the ability to check it out, to find out if it's really been true.
And if a man can't deliver on the promise of faithfulness to his wife, I don't think we should expect him to deliver on the promise of faithfulness in the office either.
That's right.
And I think it's important to realize that part of the qualifications of a man who's going to be faithful in office is a man that doesn't take a bribe, that actually cares about injustice, right? Like when you make vows to your wife, those are the most important vows. If you can't keep those in your home and you can't create a garden that is flourishing in your home, how are you going to handle a garden with a lot more people connected to it? Where's that faithfulness going to be at there? And I think God has given us those checks and balances to look at and say, are these the kind of men that you want ruling you? And if you have those kind of men leading you, then they're representing the type of people that you are properly. And I think we should take a very close look at that and say, oh, wow, we probably need to repent all the way down. Because if we got these kind of men that can't be faithful to their wives, I don't think we should expect faithfulness in politics.
I think you're absolutely right. Again, I would also think that's where we need to make sure that we are, as citizens, that we are appropriately weighing these things. That by the evidences that exist. We talk about Ken Paxton. We're talking about Ken Paxton. Just to be clear, the Attorney General.
To be fair, allegations.
The fact that he and his wife are still married. That. She's publicly backing him, supporting him, all those kind of things. I think that at some point we also have to make sure that we extend the grace that we want extended. There's been one perfect man that I'm aware of in human history. Maybe there have been others. I'm aware of the one. And I think that we need to be very cautious that we don't allow ourselves to fall into the trap of saying, unless you are perfect, we're not going to vote for you. What we need to be looking for is someone who is perfectly obedient to Christ, which means that we are going to sin. But when we sin, what happens next? And I think that's for many of the folks in political office and for many of the citizens, we need to do a better job of watching that and asking that question, because it's very easy to fall into the outraged machine of, oh my gosh, this pastor cheated on his wife. Okay, that's really bad and probably shouldn't be a pastor. But if they've reconciled, if the sin that existed, and maybe the pastor is the wrong example, but I think that there is that point to which we need to make sure that we are seeing grace extended, as well as kind of that rush to judgment. We need to bear both, I think, in our calculus.
Michael, I know that a lot of what we're talking about today is why you started Texas Scorecard, why you're doing Texas Scorecard, in order to try to help people, just normal people, a lot of the normal people you're talking about that are in Texas, actually know what's going on in the state legislature. You're saying there's a massive disconnect, and that's part of what people don't know the score. They don't actually know. They're not able to make intelligent decisions about those who represent them because nobody's telling them, and the only people that are telling them are the incumbents, and they just spin the story they want to. I'm curious, how long has Texas Scorecard been going, and are you beginning to see some results, some fruit from that work? And are there any places where you've been able to flip a seat or change the makeup of a city council or a school board or something like that?
Yeah, so it's been real exciting. We Texas Scorecard has been kind of a work in progress since about 2015. It's really, though, taken off since 2020 was when we began concentrating full time on Texas Scorecard. And so during that time, we've seen a lot of really neat fruit grow out of the work. Most notably, this summer, even there was we had one of our young reporters who is also a student at Texas A&M University. She wrote about something that was actually going to be very inconvenient for her. She wrote about her department's, her journalism department's new department head coming in. That new department head, as it turns out, was a big proponent of DEI and pushing all sorts of crazy leftist stuff. She wrote about it, exposed some things that the university didn't want exposed. The net effect of that was that lady didn't take the job. The person who offered the job resigned, and the president of the university was forced to resign over that. All things because our staff exposed that which the people in power didn't want exposed. Right. And we can kind of walk backwards a number of other instances. That was kind of that's the most fun from this summer. And I think that it just goes to the point that you made a moment ago, that there are so many folks who don't know what's going on, and there's a very thriving industry when you're around state capitals and state universities and all the power and the money that sits there. A big thriving industry of just not letting people know what's happening. There's a big obfuscation industry that exists, and so for anyone who's willing to step up and start shining a light into those dark places, you're going to start having an impact. And that's what we're trying to do every day, is to show 5 more people what's going on in their state and local governments, so that they can be the leaders. And I often cringe when I hear my friends talk about people in public office as being our leaders, because in fact, in our system of government, the citizens are supposed to be the leaders. Unfortunately, too many of our fellow citizens have been encouraged to be slothful and to not. We end up letting the servants become the masters, and that's not. That is not going to be to the long-term benefit of our nation. We need the citizens stepping up into their role of leadership in our republic. But they only do that when they're informed.
The Texas Heist, it is available right now on YouTube. Mr. Sullivan.
I'm a little depressed about Texas.
Thank you so much for joining us, Michael. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. If you're single, get married. If you're married, have you some kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until tomorrow, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politic.
How do you choose who to trust? Doesn't it usually come down to personal connection? Then why do only 25% of people trust a real estate agent when our job is all about connection? Sounds like there's something missing. Here at Story Real Estate, we're looking for people with integrity and a willingness to serve others. When people get to know you in this career, they should discover a genuine and helpful person who can guide them through tough times. If that's you, join us today. I'm Chris Carpenter, the owner and founder of Story Real Estate. Click the Learn More button and let's see if we have a career you'll love.